and especially welcome to Texas Power Up. Okay, here's what you want to do. You want to grab something to write with, or if you put it in your phone like me, just put it in your notes. Here are the Texas area Power Up stats for you guys. So across our teams, between Jordan's team, Sarissa's team, Laura's team, and all of our Central Texas teams. And you guys, we added Houston, right? So if you have Houston referrals, like Jaime is so excited to work with your Houston referrals, as well as he is starting to hire agents out there. So if you've got talent referrals, he's got a goal of hiring 4 people in June. If you guys don't know him, he was a bold coach for years. This guy's got it. He's going to coach those people into production. So we haven't talked about revenue share in a while. This is a great opportunity for revenue share, right? All right. So in Texas right now, you guys write it down, 86 agents that we have. And those 86 agents, man, you guys are producing. Listen to the numbers. Right now, you guys are carrying 67 listings. Those listings, they're flying off the market, aren't they? $21 million in listing volume right now. And then I look at buyers, and you guys, buyers, 336 buyer rep agreements that you guys have right now, 336. I did the math. That is 4 buyers per agent. That's a lot of buyers, right? The amount of pendings you guys have right now, 260 pendings right this second, 260 pendings. You have $110 million in volume pending that's under contract right now. That's an average of $423,000 per house, $423,000 per house. You guys have closed 367 units, for a total of 120 million closed. And guys, that's like, I don't know, like 2.7 homes per day. Like you guys are crushing it right now. Total, write this number down, total gross commission income. Why is gross commission income even important? It's important because that's how everybody makes money, right? That's how you get to make money. That's how Tracy and Andrea and Samantha and Joseph, like if there's no like GCI, there's no money for anybody, right? So GCI is important because everybody gets paid, the expenses get to get paid, and then we get to have a profit, right? And it all works together. And I love that number. It's $3.5 million of gross commission income in 4.5 months, you guys. That is massive, massive. That means 1.75 million has already been paid to our agents on this call. 1.75 million. Pretty great. The last number I want you to write down is our written and closed volume, right? And the reason, like, we don't love talking about volume because it's kind of like this, like you don't really get paid on volume because like, what if you did it at 2%, right? However, the entire world talks about volume, right? And like, they use it as this sexy thing. So you know what, like go out there and be sexy with it, right? $230 million is what you guys have put under contract and closed this year. $230 million. Like, show me somebody in Texas who's doing that. Not a lot of them. So you guys, there's so much to be proud of. So much confidence can come from that. And it really takes all of us on this call to do it. So I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are rocking and rolling in each of your areas, each of your counties, and just taking market share. Like these numbers, here's what I look at, guys. When you look at closed and it sounds good, the next number you want to look at is what? Pendings. You're like, well, great. I'm so glad that we're closing a lot, but are we keeping up the pendings? And the answer is a resounding yes. So I'm very excited. One of the reasons I'm excited this morning, other than seeing you guys' beautiful faces every Thursday, is we've got a super cool guest. One of my dearest friends, Elizabeth. And if you guys have never met her, this is what a great opportunity. I'd love to have a conversation with Miss Elizabeth this morning. And I know you guys are excited because it's a topic we haven't talked about yet. We haven't had luxury and we haven't had negotiation. And guess what? Today it's a 2-for-1 with Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, it's 6:30 your time over there, right?
Yes, it is.
And Elizabeth's not super stoked about that. Neither would I, and neither would a lot of you 6:30 a.m. because it's not really 6:30. You got to get up like an hour earlier just to like look pleasant. Put on the rest of this. So then even more gratitude for you getting on here for us and with us this morning. So Elizabeth, what area are you in? Where do you live? Where do you sell?
Before I even get into that, I have to say, wow, you guys are doing amazing. I mean, to hear your numbers and to hear how you're performing, it's amazing. So big time congrats. Yeah.
Right on, right on. I love it.
Napa. I'm in Napa Valley in California.
Do you sell like that whole area? Is there like what's your radius? What do you love?
So I sell Napa County, which is a county of about 125,000, primarily in Napa proper. And then I also do Sonoma County, which would be town of Sonoma, Healdsburg, Santa Rosa. So 2 wine country valleys.
Ooh, I love it. If you guys need a tax deduction in the future, a tax deductible trip, that is a great place to go visit. I mean, just stop by her office for a little bit and then boom, that just became tax deductible. I love it. Okay, so let's get into let's get into your story.
Hold on a second. My computer is getting
Everybody gets calls, right? Has that ever happened to anybody? Like it's like the worst thing, but it's not really, because I mean, if your phone doesn't ring, it means you're not busy, right? So I'm gonna ask you to unmute because I think I muted you just so that it's like cool. There you go. We've all done it. I've done it. Like there are a few first power-ups on here was that happened a lot to me.
Well, and a telemarketer at this time in the morning. I mean,
oh man, yeah, they're dead to you.
All right, we are on airplane mode. Okay.
We're on airplane mode. I love it. I love it. I wish we could get on an airplane right now. That sounds great. Elizabeth and I vacation together, and we've got a vacation coming up. We can't wait for that. So, but today it's all about business, so we can afford vacations, which is a good topic, right? Okay, so tell us your story. How did you even get into real estate? Like, what's going? Like, how did that happen?
Sure. I was actually living in Puerto Rico for a few years, and we purchased 2 condos right on the water, right in the Ritz-Carlton Cove. Would never have happened in the US. And completely rehabbed one, broke the wall through, and then there were 2 studios. So one was our bedroom, sun coming up over the ocean every morning, and then one was where we lived. And when we left there, we sold it to the downstairs neighbor, and we carried a second back. So a year later, she paid off the second, and that was the first investment property we purchased. And from there, I rehabbed another house, which was our primary, and then just recognized, wow, I'm good at this. I love this. And I just had a feeling. And so I got my license, and that's how I got into real estate.
Ooh, I like that. Was it like, how did you, like, when you started out, like, were you this good or how was it?
Yeah, I had an amazing mentor who probably will always know more in her little pinky than most people do in their entire life about real estate. And so I was working with her, and in my 3rd weekend, I got my first buyer, and then I was off.
I love that. How long ago was that? Just paint the picture.
About 19 years ago, when you used MapQuest. So
oh,
I was
cute.
In a brand new area. I was a brand new area. I'd never lived here. I had never been in real estate. And so it was literally mapping out MapQuest, trying to pretend like I knew what I was doing. And you still drove people around in your car back then. And I have no sense of direction. It was stressful, but
that sounds a little accurate for a lot of us on this call. So we get that. We get that. So 5 years ago, what happened? Approximately 5 years ago.
Approximately 5 years ago. 5 years ago in July. It's amazing how fast time goes. Wow. Ben came out here to Napa and taught what was Recruit Select called before it was called Recruit Select.
Well, I think it was Recruit Select back then, Career Visioning now.
Oh,
right?
Okay. So it was Recruit Select back then. Anyhow, that's how I met him. We were 400 of us. I didn't know who he was. And he was doing that class. And at one point when he does somebody's story, and he looked out and he said, I'm recruiting all of you. And everybody laughed. And I went home that night and I thought, it just kind of played back in my head. And I went, that's exactly what he's doing. And so the next morning I went in and I said to him, have you ever thought about expanding into Napa? And he said, send me your AVA, which was the old numbers we used for
Personality.
Thank you. And we started a conversation. We started texting, not talking that much. Ben's a texter. We started texting a lot. And I definitely had to chase him. You know, maybe we'd make appointments, he'd cancel them. And this went on, you know, I didn't find out until later that that is part of what he does to make sure somebody's really interested in how tenacious are they going to be. And so then we finally met and talked in New Orleans and had about an hour conversation, and it was just a connection. Talk about somebody that knows how to make another person feel like they are so interested in them. I thought there was nobody more important than me during that time. You know, very funny. He's very good at that.
I love that. How much business were you doing before
back
then?
I
Just so we
want
can
to
have a
say
good idea.
somewhere between probably about 15 million is my guess. I was going to pull those numbers up, but I think it was 15 million.
Got it. And so far for the year, you're at 70 million plus pending and closed, right?
Yep.
Okay. I just want you guys to get that. That's a big jump because we're only 4.5 months through the year. That's pretty awesome. And so you've got a team of 3 right now, right? Yes. You've got Ian, who's been with you how many years?
Almost 4 years.
Ian's been there almost 4 years. And then Chelsea has joined, right? In the last like 6 months, give or take.
Yes. Yes.
And you're doing all of this with you 3.
Yes, we are.
Oh my God. Okay.
Hired a brand new operations manager assistant. And so she started 2 days ago.
Okay. We're glad that she's in your life. Okay. So you guys, so like looking over the last 5 years real quick, what did you attribute your growth to? Because until that point, you had been a solid 10, 12, 15, $17 million agent. And now you're in a different stratosphere.
What I really attribute it to, it has to do with the reason I joined was because something I call leadership lonely. I was the top producing agent in my office. I didn't have a community around me to get to the next level. And so I pretty much felt like I was at my ceiling. And then there was a small group of us that were expansion partners back then, very small. We all sat around Ben's table at his house. And it was the first business planning meeting. And Ben's asking everybody what their goal is. And I looked at him like, WTF, I don't know. And he looked at me and he said, 30 million. And I thought he was flipping crazy, absolutely crazy. And that year I did about 27. And it was really eye-opening. Like it just took the lid off. And then going into the trainings and then being around other people, like they say, you're some of the 5 people you hang out with. Well, all of a sudden the people I was hanging out with were incredible. I mean, I look at all of the other, at that time, even expansion partners, I'm the, young people in their 30s that are just brilliant. And it just opened my eyes. So it was just hanging out. That's what the biggest change was.
I love that. You guys know, like we always talk about, you grow into the conversations around you, right? And so you want to make sure that the people around you, your tribe, the people, they don't have to be local, right? Elizabeth had to go outside of her local area, right? But I love that. And then it just took the lid off and you got to just go into a different stratosphere. I love that. Guys, we're going to get into the topic right now. Just now, you guys know who Elizabeth is. She's valid. She's credible. And I'm going to watch chat for any of your questions and I'll make sure that we ask them. Okay. So love your story. you're doing a lot of business. What do you feel sets you apart right now?
Biggest thing that sets me apart is I am very, very detail oriented. And I don't mean that in a way of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And I'm not talking about
So we're not
paper
talking on paperwork.
at all. What I'm talking about detail is I walk into a house and my eye just catches everything. It's something that I've honed over the years. I also think it's just something that comes to me naturally, but I walk in and I notice, the piece of, where the floor needs to be picked up. I notice the light switch is not the same color, like a tan light switch when it should be a white light switch. Walk into the bathroom, I notice, oh, on the soap dish, there are 2 dots that are black. We need to put 2 dots of white paint in there. My eye just catches everything. And
So why is that important to your clientele?
it's extremely important. It's my way of doing business is 5-star Ritz-Carlton, to make myself stand out from everybody else. I also do a lot of updating of homes prior to them going on the market, and that's a big part of my value proposition. And then I go in and look, and a really good example would have been yesterday. So we had a photo shoot yesterday on a property. I got there early in the morning and was like, whoa, wait a second. There's a number of things that still aren't done that should have been done. So immediately, boom, called the team of tradespeople that I use, and I was like, everybody get down here. And all of us together made sure that it was perfect. And that's the difference. Is it's not that it wouldn't have photographed well, or it wasn't at 4 stars, but that's not my standard. My standard is, when I'm in listing presentations, is exceeding expectations. When I've exceeded expectations of my client, it makes me happy. It just does. So it's a driving force.
So are you doing that, Elizabeth, because properties are staying on the market 6 months, or are they moving really fast? Because I mean, if you're putting this much effort into one listing that closes that sells in a day, like, why are you even doing that?
The reason I'm doing it, to me, standard always stays the same. And that standard is at any price point. And yes, they're flying off the market. This house, we'll wait 3 or 4 days. We'll call for offers. It'll go significantly over asking. The reason is because it's excellence, and excellence doesn't have a season. Excellence is all the time consistent, and that's how you build your reputation. It's how I've built my reputation. It's what sets me apart. One of the things. The other is my negotiation skills. And when the seller came in, she was just blown away. Well, guess what? So far, she's brought 5 of her friends over to see, and they're blown away. What does that do? They're going to remember me when they go to sell their home, because Suzanne is really valid. So it's just always being at the top of your game.
Okay. I hope everybody wrote that down. If you kind of zoned out for a second, the key line here was excellence doesn't have a season, right? Just because something will sell in one day doesn't mean that Elizabeth does less work or let's call it what it is, gets like comfortable, lazy, right? Like, I mean, we'll just call it what it is, right? The market is moving the product for us, and Elizabeth is not relying on the market to just move the product. This is like, she's using this as prime time to continue her 5-star Ritz-Carlton standard. Man, I wrote that sucker down. That was very good. So then it sounds like you're just very hands-on with your clients.
I am. How I have it set up is so that I do have a team, and I do have vendors and people that work with me, but I do a lot of communication with the client directly. And then I go through to make sure I'm very, you might say I still have somewhat of a control issue.
Some might say that, but it's very, very, like, if you're going to have a control issue in everything, you guys don't have a control issue with, running your own contract to close stuff. Like, have a control issue on like making sure your product is the best product on the market. You said something yesterday. You said, I don't like, it would have been fine. It would have been an 8 and it would have sold, but you want it to be a 10.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So I love that. I think one thing that when you said the 8 to a 10, you said the difference between a wildly successful agent, you guys, and someone in the very top percentile is the person that exceeds expectations. Doesn't meet expectation, exceeds expectations. I love that. I love that. Okay, so is a lot of your business right now repeat referral, or what does that look like? Kind of like, what's your mix?
Yeah, it's a combination. A lot of it is repeat referral at this point. But also in the last couple of years, I have focused on reviews, testimonials. In Brivity, you know, we have all the auto plans, and one is a closing auto plan. And especially in Google, all of a sudden, I'm getting a tremendous amount of action from Google. By basically, I'm also having, what I'm trying to spit out is people, I'm getting calls that just say either come list me, or we're interviewing agents and we want to interview you.
Are they looking
And
at like your website, or are they looking at properties you've sold and they know your caliber
no,
of service? Well, like what is
they're putting in top Napa realtor, Napa agent, those kinds of things.
right
And
on.
then they're finding me and reading reviews and then giving a call.
Okay. This is, guys, this is the long game, right? It didn't happen overnight and boom, like it's that hockey stick goes up. I love that. There was one thing that you said yesterday. I'm trying to find it here in my notes that I just loved, loved, loved.
What
Um,
did I say?
oh, I know, right? Well, I'll find it. Don't worry. We won't get off the
Okay.
call without making sure. Let's jump into negotiation. Like what can our agents learn from you on the topic of negotiation? Like how would you describe your negotiation style?
I'm actually kind of looking at notes to, okay, so as far as my negotiation style, a big piece of it is knowing my numbers. I know other agents' numbers. So going back to, and this is talking about like winning the listing, and that's a negotiation also, is I know my numbers. I know what's going on in their area. I always ask, are you interviewing anybody else? And they say, yes. Who are you interviewing? Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they say they're not comfortable, but if they tell you, then I automatically look up the stats of those people. And I know that my stats are probably going to be better. So I can
Do you
say,
ever say anything? Do you ever
pardon
say
me?
anything to them? Do you ever say anything to them in the appointment or
Oh,
after the
yes,
appointment?
definitely.
Okay, like how do you handle that? Like if like you're going up against me and you know you're a better agent, like what do you even say?
What I say to them is I'll be going over the other properties that are relevant, and then we'll be talking, and then I'll say what sets me apart from other agents is, have you ever thought of, have you thought what, the list of sales price? And some people understand that and some people don't. And then I explain, if you're getting 96% of a million, or you're getting 104% of a million, that is thousands of dollars different. And my list of sales price is 104.7. Now that's an average over the last year. So-and-so's, and this is just data, is 96%. And then I have the data with me. Now I never leave it. I always make sure I take it back, but I do that. And I don't do it in such a way to talk down. I say, these agents are good. I'm just better. And I smile, kind of make a joke out of it. And, and who would you rather have? And I also use this when talking about commission. Well, if, yes, you can hire somebody at 5% and you may get 96, 98, you might even get full price. Or you can hire me, that gets, and so what you're saving, the 5,000 you're saving in commission, you're spending in, so what's important to you, net.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as negotiating skills, like what, in negotiating an offer, Adelina?
Well, so I think about like, are you like, what makes you confident in negotiating? Like why do people say, like guys, just behind the scenes, I've heard Elizabeth negotiate. She would take any of you guys down. She is such a great negotiator. It is a superpower. But how did you become this person? Like what makes you that? Like what
Okay.
about it?
Yeah. So staying on top of my stats, staying on top of the trends, pulling them monthly and knowing them. educating, being on calls where it's talked about. So that would be Chris Suarez calls, Ben's calls. It's knowing, I understand mortgage. When I was originally trained, you had much more involvement in financing than you do now, but I've always stayed really involved. It's understanding what things are going to appraise for. A lot of it is education, and then it's experience too. I'm a really strong personality. I'm confident in what I do. In this area, I know what I'm doing, and I project that. And it's really important because having a seller or a buyer, they're looking to us and they need to feel that we know what we're doing, even if you're faking it. They need to know that you know what you're doing. And if you don't know, you can always find the answer. So if a seller or a buyer asks you something and you don't know, just say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. And then get back to them within the hour. Exceed expectations.
Do you guys get that? Within the hour? That's exceeding expectations. Meeting expectations would be same day.
Yeah.
Got it? I love that. So then, do you see your role as a fiduciary? Do you see that as just keeping the deal together, or do you see your role as just like, keeping
Yeah.
your client happy? Where do you see your role in all of this?
To me, fiduciary, is the highest client interaction that you will ever have. And this is their primary asset. It's what builds wealth. So I take it really seriously. And it's like, so for an example, recently negotiating for my seller. So we put the house on the market. We're in a multiple market, just like you are. We put the house on the market. Within a few days, couple days, we already had 2 offers. Seller I asked them, do you have a buy now price? Think of eBay, right? It says buy now or. So do you have a price that you wouldn't wait for offers? They said it was $1,150,000. I said, great. So I told the people, the 2 agents, $1,150,000 is their buy now. One came in at $1,150,000, one came in at $1,175,000. I called both agents. I let them know there was another offer, that they were competing. And I said, come in with your highest and best, because the seller's going to choose one of them. And then somebody said, well, can you give me a feeling? And I said, well, I can tell you it's in excess of $1,175,000. I said, so come in at your highest. So when I sat down with the client, they were thrilled because they got $1.2 million. Now, a lot of agents wouldn't have proactively said that to the other agents. Go back through all the countering, but it's taking the initiative to be, strongly advocate for your client. And it's not only come in at that, no contingencies. If you're getting a loan and an appraisal, that's okay, but it's not contingent upon the appraisal. And it's not just saying when it comes in that they've waived the appraisal contingency, it's demonstrating to your client that you're still going to do an addendum or a counter, however you handle it there with this, that says, if property does not appraise, buyer to make up the difference in cash, buyer to provide proof of funds. So even though it's waived, you are really making the language so there is no room for misunderstanding, because a lot of agents don't educate their buyers, and their buyers think, well, if it's $1.2 million, I'm going to get a loan on $1.2 million. Not, well, what if it appraises at $1.1 million? No, you don't. You have to make up that delta. And it's shocking how many agents, buyers, they don't understand that. So it's really
this portion, it sounds like this portion is like how you're earning your commission,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You're like, you guys, that like, you let the seller know how much work you did to get to this point, to get to that 1.2, right? Because if you don't say it, nobody knows, right? And you don't have to brag. You can just say exactly like Elizabeth. They came in here, we got them up to here. Here's what I've got for you. They've got their appraisal waived. I got them to give us proof of funds for the delta. I feel really good. How do you want to approach this now, right? I mean, like, that's how you earn your commission.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, well, what if you were on the buy side? And now you're on the buy side. You're a different bulldog there. Tell us.
Totally. So there, I will call the agent and I will say, you know, how are things going? How many offers do you have? And they'll say whatever. And then what's important to your seller, you know? And then that's where you find out, oh, they need 2 weeks or a month rent back. So you go, oh, okay, well, great. We can give them that for free. Has the seller done inspections up front? Very important. Yes, great. So send me over that disclosure package and then we review that. But I ask, are you, so far, what do the offers look like?
I love how nonchalant that is. So
And
far, how did the offers look like?
and then you shut up. Let there be a pregnant pause. Pregnant pause gets me more information than I can even tell you. And does it make me uncomfortable too? Yes, it does. I still don't say anything because the other person will start filling in. They'll just start talking. And if you're just quiet, you can learn so much. Only your very, very top agents, there's only a couple agents that I can't get information out of. But that's what you do. You ask, and then if they say, well, yeah, oh, okay, is it a loan or is it cash? How many cash offers do you have? Have they waived contingencies, right? Because you don't want to waive contingencies unless you have to. That's the kind of thing. So
Okay, so like it sounds like this is a voice-to-voice conversation and
yes,
not a
yes.
text.
Well, no, because if it's a text or an email, that's really easy just to say blah, blah, press send. But when you have a real person on the other end that's asking you a question, you have to answer it. So having relationships with your other agents, especially when you're in multiple offer situation, there are agents that I know that they perform, that their lenders perform. The other thing is that I look for in offers when I'm talking to my seller is, are all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed? Is the contract filled out perfect? Where I don't have to do any cleanup, we don't have to counter anything. Is the area that is my area, is that filled in? Have they made it as easy as possible? That's going to tell me a lot about how they're going to be to work with.
I love that. I hope you guys got that. Negotiation, guys, it starts with the other agent.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't start with whatever number you put in, blah, blah, blah. Negotiation starts with the other agent. And when you're writing that contract, if you're leaving things blank, if you're just leaving things to chance, like Elizabeth, somebody like Elizabeth, like a top dog will look at that offer and like if Gus comes in with a perfect contract where he filled in all of Elizabeth's information, all of his own, he took the extra time to do this, like that looks like a tight contract package. Is that what you're looking for?
Exactly. And on top of that, it's the email that comes with it too. Because right now, when you're in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 offers, it takes time to put it all together. So if somebody's put in the body of the email, this is who my client is, brief couple sentences, and then these are the terms, purchase price, that it's all there that I can just glance at it and see it. It's helpful. It's just helpful. And that's how I present my offers. It's always very, as easy as I can make it. It's just professional. It's not even easy. It's professional.
Oh, I like that. Guys, that's just the definition of professional. I love that. How, like, if somebody didn't have a lot of confidence, right? If they are Elizabeth, from 20 years ago, maybe, I don't know. How would you say that they should build their confidence?
I think confidence gets built when you understand what you're doing. I really do. The more you understand, when I was trained way back then, literally my mentor, we would once a week, we'd sit down and I had to learn the contract, every page of the contract. We would take basically a few paragraphs at a time and I had to present to her upside down, right? Because that was when you actually met with people. So you would present contracts and you would have them sign them in person. And oh God, disclosures would take 4 hours. Anyhow, but that's really important. So I really know the contract. What I see now a lot of is fill in the blank. And if you are just filling in the blank and you really don't know how to explain your contract or read your contract, you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't really know what you're doing, then you don't come across as confident. So what do they say? Knowledge is power. It's true. That's what's going to build your confidence.
I love that. Like, so guys, write it down, like knowledge is power and confidence through competence, right?
Exactly. That's what we were talking
Ah,
about last night. Yeah.
I love that. How would you, are there any books or anything you'd recommend for improving negotiation skills?
What was that one I said yesterday? The art of the, no.
Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah.
What was his name? Oh,
The
shoot.
art of persuasion.
There was that. No, there was the other one that was so great that I'm not at the office. I have it there.
Never split the difference.
Yes, that one. Never split the difference. Yeah. That is
Um,
a good book, and you can also find videos. What's the author's name?
Casey, who's the author of Never
Chris
Split the
Voss.
Chris
Thank
Voss.
you.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, you can find videos online of him. Yeah, he's amazing. He was an old FBI profiler, and it's very interesting, but learned a lot in that book.
I wrote down also Fierce Conversations was a book
Yes.
that why do you think Fierce Conversations is important?
Because I think that in negotiation, things can get uncomfortable. A buyer wants to get the lowest price, a seller wants to get the highest price. Agents have to work together. A lot of times the other agent may be adversarial. And I have said to agents before, take the emotion out of it. You know, we're trying to work together to get our clients to come together. And what's so interesting about that was said to me a number of years ago. I was getting all feisty, you know, whatever. And the agent just said, Elizabeth, take the emotion out of it. And it was like, wow, she's right. And just brought it all down and we got it done. And so I'm losing my train of thought. So
No, I love that. I love that. Guys, like take the emotion level down, right? Like
Yeah.
you're not here to like be the emotional one. Like our clients are emotional enough, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Adelina. So when you're doing it, if you want to get your seller the best you can, or the buyer the best you can, but it's also knowing when to advise your client that this is the best. And, you know, or to advise your buyer, I say a lot right now is put the offer in that if somebody else gets it, you will say it's their property, because there's no higher dollar that you think that property's worth. So you put the offer in that if you lose it, you go, great, that isn't my property, next.
Right on. So let's say that let's go to like a listing appointment. You walk into the listing appointment and you've got different personalities. You've got somebody who's, you know, he's highly detailed and then the wife is like, she just wants bullet points. How do you handle those situations where one wants you to be there like 4 hours to do your listing presentation and the other is gonna like, they're gonna die in that chair?
Guess
You've
which
got
one
so
I am.
personalities. Talk to me about personalities.
Casey can tell you what personality I am. So can Maria. So in that instance, when I'm doing the call, when I'm calling and talking and the appointment's getting set, I'm asking questions. And one of the questions I always ask and I want to find out is, what do they do for a living? Okay, because if they are a CPA and versus they trade it on Wall Street, right? So what do you think a CPA is going to be? They're going to be incredibly detail oriented. They are working with numbers. Numbers are what makes sense to them. So I know I'm going to need to provide data. But if the wife is trading stocks, she's going to be bullet points and she's going to want me just to get through it. So in this instance, what I do is I bring data. I am presenting more in a bullet point way. I'm really paying attention to body language. And if I can feel it, I start seeing the foot tap, you know, and I go through. But at the same point, I will look at him and say, I've brought a lot of data with me, trends and statistics, so you can see where the market is. I will leave those with you. And then let's you and I follow up with each other and I can answer any questions. That way I'm acknowledging that that person isn't, like, their style isn't being ignored. And at the same token, the person that's bullet point or the high D, I'm able to move along to keep them engaged.
I love that. And you had a book recommendation called Untethered Soul.
Uh,
Why would you recommend this one for personality types?
that's an amazing book. Really, what it is, when we talk about what sets one apart, it really has to do with personal growth. The growth that I've had in the last 5 years, being in Ben's world, Adelina's world, all these amazing people is pushing me. And that book, you really learn about the voice in your head. And guess what? We all have a voice in our head. And in reading that book and reading the book that I think was the precursor to that book, anyhow, which was the author's story, it really is incredibly helpful. But I'd also, again, learning a lot about myself, and that helps because I mean, the more you know about yourself and the more comfortable you get with yourself, the better you are at whatever you do.
Oh, I like that. I like that. So one of the questions that had come up was like, like, what are your tips for negotiation of repairs in a seller's market?
Well, guess what? There aren't any. When it's a seller's market, it's a seller's market. The biggest tip that I can have is you push your sellers to get inspections up front. I have a seller right now who was like just not willing to do a roof inspection. We had done the others, and I just said it's $150. What we want is to be able to provide buyers with all of the inspections so they're making their offers subject to and not coming back 2 weeks later to negotiate with you. So knowing when to push. Um, but as far as also, there's another side to the seller negotiation, to seller repairs, right? And that is, for example, this offer that came in at 1.2 when the property was priced at $1,025,000. And I'm sitting with the seller, and the seller's going, well, we're taking the TV, we're taking the fire pit, all these things. And I'm going, wow, that feels really greedy in my head. And I'm thinking that's not going to fly well on the other side. That's going to create ill will. So I said, let's talk about this for a second. How about you leave the TV and leave the fire pit and leave the Sonos and throw in a home warranty? I said, let's have the other side really feel that you appreciate their offer. And we talked about it, and that's exactly what we did. But if you're not comfortable in speaking up to say, hey, this isn't, how much is that worth? A couple $1,000s? So it's not being afraid to counsel your clients. And there's ways to do it. Like in this case, I just looked at him and I said, really, Mark? And I just smiled. That's all it took. And then his wife looked at him and said, oh, come on, So I don't know, it's the dance.
What's your pricing strategy right now? Like, do you price at the very top of the market? Do you price above market? Do you price at market? Do you price under market? Like, what's your pricing strategy look like?
My strategy always, doesn't matter what the market is you price at or a little below. I want to price a little below. And I explain, and sellers can be really uncomfortable with that. And I explain to them that when buyers are in competition with each other, it's just natural. It's people. When we're in competition, we want to win. It's why you do all the inspections up front. But you want to win. And winning means creating multiple offers in any market. Not that in any market it happens, but it's a strategy. And then the market is going to push the price exactly where it's supposed to go. And so it's what's called the auction effect. And it's if you price it too high, and this is statistically proven, and it's just what I say, if you price it high, I get that the natural impulse is price high and then will come down. But what you're then doing is chasing the market down, and you will end up getting less than you would have received if you had priced it right to begin with. People know value. There is so much public information now that they know what the house was bought for, sold for 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Our buyers are very savvy now. And that's exactly what I say to the seller.
I love that. I love that. Um, what is marketing and services like when you think about marketing and services for luxury as opposed to just maybe entry level markets, right? Like if you were in Missouri versus Napa, or sorry for anybody who's from Missouri, is more expected in luxury, or what? Like, what does that look like?
More is definitely expected. And what's interesting, which I think is a misnomer in luxury, you don't have to know everything luxury to sell luxury. You know, we're not at that level. I'm not at that level. I'm not worth 15, 20, 30 million dollars or more, $100 million or $1 billion. What they're looking for is really good service. It's the true definition of concierge. It is being able to uh, anticipate what's needed before it's asked for.
Okay,
Again,
hold on. Everybody write that down. True concierge is being able to anticipate before it's being asked for. I just want to make sure everybody gets that. That's really good. In your one of your latest ones, like what is sometimes is concierge like restaurant recommendations? Is it picking up packages, or is it just like what is like? Do
it
you do
is.
stuff
So
like that?
it's restaurant recommendations. I've done before somebody moving and they played tennis. Tennis was really important to them. They didn't ask me to go find out the different places they could play. But when they arrived, I said, here you go. These are all the private clubs. These are all the public places. This is where you can play. That's exceeding expectations. You know, schools were really important. We talked about it. I said, great. I'll set the appointments for you prior to you coming. Let's talk about what schools. Got the appointment set. It's they're animal people and their dog is their baby. What's their favorite treats? You know, and then you have those treats, or when they close on their home, you do something for the dog too. It's just listening and finding out about what's important to them and
In
then doing it.
in talking with Elizabeth, you guys, this is one of the things I wrote down. And if you haven't written this down, this might be a good one for you to write down. When we're talking about luxury, guys, when we're talking about luxury, it's not the price point that we're signing up for. That's not even the point, right? It's the service level that you're signing up for.
Yeah.
Luxury is about the service level. It's not about a price point. It just happens to be that that level of service is awfully helpful in very high luxury properties. So I just want you guys to really get that like it's the service level that you're signing up for. So when you say, if Jacob or Shelby or London said, I want to work luxury clients, the answer is awesome. What does that service level look like? Because you've got to have that luxury service level to work with luxury clients.
Yeah.
Tell me, Elizabeth, when we're talking about like you're going to a listing appointment and they want to get on the market ASAP, right? Like how do you feel about like taking it to market when it's not ready, or like what's the spill that you give people?
I think that one of the most important things is to set expectations up front, you know, and so I do, whether it's communicating. If you call me, you'll receive a call back within 4 hours. Often it's within the hour. If you send an email in the morning, expect a response by the end of the day, if not sooner. If you if you text me, I will respond almost immediately just to let you know that I've received your text. And then I ask them, how do you like to be communicated with? That piece is really important because that's setting expectations. And then I say, and if I don't, that means I didn't get it. Now that does two things. One, if I just space out or I'm really busy and I forgot, oh, it went into cyberspace, right? Because I've set expectations up front. This is how I'll respond to you. If I don't, ping me again. So that's one thing. And then setting expectations. I did it again, Adelina. I've lost my train of thought.
No, it's good. This is what I'm here for. So you're going on a listing appointment and they, it's Monday and they want to go on the market like that
Thank you.
Friday.
Okay. I talked to them about that. We get one opportunity. I tell them, it used to be when you pulled up in the curb, it was called curb appeal. That's still important. When you pull up, it's still got to look good. The difference is now it is online. And I say 98% of buyers are looking 6 months prior to them ever getting a realtor. By the time they're coming into your home, they basically are just checking it to make sure they want to buy it. They're really serious buyers. So when we go on, we have our video. I do Zillow video, which is just, the handheld. But that I do for every single one of my listings. And it doesn't matter what the price point is, I do that. And then photos. Well, I do professional photos, but I also look at the photos and I make sure that what is being represented in that photo is what it is I want brought out in that photo. And if it's not, I crop it. So again, it's a lot of attention to detail. I can get on market if there's nothing wrong with the house, 0. It's still going to be a couple weeks because I want them to get inspections. It's really important they get inspections. If they absolutely say no, they won't do that, then I'll tell them we can be on in 7 to 10 days. And that's going to be dependent upon photographer availability and whatever else, but even that, it's a 24-hour turnaround on photos. I want at least another 24 hours. And I explained to them, if they're really pushing, it's not to your advantage. We need to go on when we're ready. And that is the ability to push back. You're the professional. And I will even say, it's why you're hiring me, and I say just that.
I love that. So during that like 1 week to 10-day period, you're getting your photos, you're reviewing the photos. You're not relying on somebody reviewing photos for you. You as the agent are making sure that it is in the absolute best light. You're sending out e-blasts, you're doing your Zillow video, you're getting your marketing copy together. You're not like just throwing something at the wall. Like you get that first impression and it's going to be a fantastic first impression.
Exactly. And then the follow-up is that I send an email, well, my assistant does, one of the two, with all the marketing links. So they get the marketing link to my Facebook business. They get the marketing link to my personal. They get the marketing link to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Zillow, the major sites that they're going to go to anyway. I send them an email. Here are all the links, we're live, exclamation point. And they like that. And again, that's another step of difference in service.
I love that. You've been doing this a long time, Elizabeth. You've got a lot of experience. What would you want to leave us with?
You know what? I wrote something down on an envelope and I don't have it with me. On the envelope screen. I write all over envelopes. Hold on a second.
I kind of love that. You don't have to have it all together to be freaking phenomenal. You better be really freaking phenomenal, especially not at that word, right? At what you do best, at what gets like the highest ROI, right? I love that.
Yes.
What did you write down, Elizabeth?
Oh, I wrote down a few things because people also just want you to be human, So don't be afraid to ask questions. Or saying that you don't know and you'll get back to them with the information. And don't care so much. If there's one thing I've learned and I am still learning, don't care so much about what other people think. We all make mistakes. I have made some huge mistakes. I mean, mistakes that have derailed me. But we are not our mistakes, and really understanding that you will make mistakes, but that does not define who you are. You learn from them and then they're in your rear view mirror. And that's why the rear view mirror, when you look in your car, how small things look behind you, it's because they're behind you. And think about your windshield, that's what's in front of you. And I think if I leave you with one thing, that's it, is we make mistakes, but we are not our mistakes. And
I
so
love that.
let yourself, that's how you're going to grow. And that's how you can get to the top, is being willing to fail and then pick yourself up and move forward.
I
So
love that. Be willing to fail, pick yourself up, set great expectations, ask great questions, provide the service level that earns you the type of business that you want to have, right? And I wrote down, make sure that you're surrounding yourself and really engaging with, right? It's one thing to surround yourself with great people. It's another thing to contribute something to that relationship, right? It's awesome that I've got you, Elizabeth, but if you and I don't talk for 3 years, like what's the point of us even being in like business together, right? So you like the relationships around you are so powerful, and use them, engage in that, be an active participant in your own success. And I think that's something that, like, when I look at the last 5 years of Elizabeth's life, she became a very active participant in her own success. And then look what happened. We went from 15 million. I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you did 100 million this year, Elizabeth. I'd be high-fiving you. I would not be surprised though.
let me tell you, I'll be high-fiving you back.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being on this morning. You guys, Elizabeth is located in Napa. She services that whole area. And by the way, like, Elizabeth knows everybody in California. If you ever need somebody somewhere in California, Elizabeth is so well connected. Elizabeth, what is your cell phone number that I can pop into chat?
Sure. It's 707-312-0819.
0819. And then your email is Elizabeth at BKCO Napa, or what do you go?
Yeah.
What do you use?
Yep. Elizabeth at BKCO Napa.
I love that.
And don't hesitate. I really, really mean this. Texting is better, but shoot me a text. I'll respond. If I can help with something, I'm really happy to do that. I'm in the place right now where giving back and helping agents that are up and coming, I'm really, really pleased to do.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Such a huge admiration for you and what you've built, but also the fact that you're willing to share who you are and how you've gotten there. And by the way, if you guys totally tuned out this entire morning, Elizabeth is pretty normal. Like, she's not somebody that we're not, right? I just love that, right? Sometimes you have people and they're just like, woo, so fancy, right? No, Elizabeth's level of service, Elizabeth's ability to like work on herself is what has set her apart. So I love that. Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Quite the pleasure. All right, y'all.
Absolutely. Texas, we will see you next week. I've got a couple people. I'm not really sure who I'm going to invite next week to talk to us. I've got a couple people in mind. So if you've got some topics that you're interested in, why don't you shoot them over to me, and we'll see where we can go with it. Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your week. Have an awesome red day. Have a great day. Thank you, Elizabeth, again.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was awesome.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thank you both. You guys are amazing.
Pleasure. Okay, bye-bye.